The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 12th day of February 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman, and hopefully we'll be joined by Maya in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Folks, I'm tired. I didn't even go for a little jog this morning. I am tired. How was your weekend? How was everyone's weekend? Everyone did something fun. You got to do anything relaxing? Like, how was your weekend? Because a brother is struggling over this side. Brother is struggling. And anyone saw the Usher Bowl last night? It's pretty cool. A lot of dancing. A lot of dancing. He dances a lot. Anyone else break a sweat just from watching him do all those moves? It was something. Props to Usher. He did his thing, and it's always interesting with the Super Bowl halftime show because people like just jump into comparisons. Oh, this one was better. That one was better. Guilty as well, by the way. But unless you witness Michael Jackson in what, 91, 92, stop comparing. That's the only one that legit was just on another level where it's no comparison, in my opinion. But I think Usher did a thing. He did his thing. I think he put on quite a performance to sing and dance and skate. He skated. He's an entertainer. He's a performer, and I'm glad that he got the chance to do that on the biggest stage in the United States. Let me say in the United States, because this world champion and the biggest event in the world. My goodness, I wish Americans would humble themselves and understand that the Super Bowl is not representative of the world. But anyway, morning to you as well, Tanya Cheeseman. She says, morning, Jamel. And Suzanne Ingham says, awesome Monday, Jamel and Maya. And Nicole Hassel says, Usher was great. Hey, you know what I saw? Usher says in some song, he says, don't leave your girl around me or something like that. And, people going off because of how he had his arms wrapped around Alicia Keys. Here's the thing. I know many people are sensitive about that stuff, but this is entertainment. It's performing. They're not, well, I don't think they're going home with each other. Like, it's performing. Like, would we act like that if we didn't know who Alicia Keys was and it was just a dancer? Like, come on. It's performing. It's entertaining. I'm not quite sure Usher is, doing Swiss beats like Alicia Keys done Swiss beats. No, don't go there, Jamal. Anyway, that's just rumor. We're not getting into rumor, but quite a performance by Usher. Did anyone watch the game? Yes or no? Did you watch the Super Bowl, or did you just tune in for the Usher Bowl? What did you do? Did you tune in? Did you enjoy it? I know quite a few people. I'm not going to say what gender because it doesn't matter, but quite a few people were just, interested in attending the Usher concert and then tuning out. But I will say, for all those who kept saying the game was boring, it actually did end quite well. Like, I mean, it may have been a boring game to most neutrals, right? But the way it ended, whenever it's a close game, it was a close game and went to OT, overtime. And the way it ended kept, people's interest. So I like the way that it ended. I had no team. I love, when I have no team because I don't get stressed. I'm not emotionally attached to anything. So I appreciated that fact. Did you watch it? Tanya Cheeseman said second half. Okay. What were you doing the first half? I mean, that I thought that's when everyone was tuned in until the Usher concert. Or did you tune in once the Usher concert happened? Nicole Hassel says she tuned in just for Usher. I don't even know who played the Super Bowl. I know many people like that. I know many people. I unfortunately know many people like that. NTS says yes. I watched the game. Kathy Rogers says the second half was good. And Michelle White says, good morning, all. Watched the whole game, fumbles and all. The ending was so crazy. Yes, Usher was on fire. So it looks like you'll quite enjoyed the Usher concert during a football game, by the way. So I guess that's going to help his ticket sales. He has an album out on Friday as well. Well, that came out this past Friday. Some people were saying that Beyonce is releasing a country album or something now. And I don't know if you all remember, but Taylor Swift, when she began, she was actually a country artist. I'll never forget when I was working as a morning show producer at a country radio station when they bought the music director and music team. We were listening to some songs that were trying to get on the radio at the time, and I think the song for her, one of her first hits, was Tim McGraw. So go look that up. But interesting, Beyonce is going that way. So I don't know. Maybe that's her way of trying to get recognized by the Academy and get a Grammy next year. Don't know. Maybe if it takes that to get a Grammy, wow. I don't know what to say. Daniel Cheeseman says halftime show and then the rest of the game. I'm not a football fan, but the game proved to be interesting indeed. All right, folks. Well, greetings everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we discuss the challenges our private schools are currently facing. The daily play is a who said it? Who said it? And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already to our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right. So real quickly, before we get into today's conversation, you all know, like, I love going to comedy shows, right? So Friday night, went to a comedian, never seen him, heard of him, anything. He was named Preacher Lawson. And when I say I've been lucky, I've been to some shows. I mean, Marlon Wayans, Mike Epps, Kevin Hart, Gary Owens. I've been to a lot of comedy shows, some of the biggest ones and smallest. But Preacher Lawson, look him up, was probably the funniest comedian I've ever seen live. He was the only comedian I've ever seen where he had the audience laughing from it, start to finish. Start to finish. That's how funny he was. Legit. Hilarious. Hilarious. So look him up. If you're in town where he is one day, just go check him out. Go check him out. Quick thing. So I know you all think I'm a serious person. Some people refer to it as grumpy or whatnot, right? But one of the things I do every day, even when I'm out there jogging, which people probably think, why is this guy jogging and laughing to himself? But I actually listen to comedy all day long. So I would have like Nephew Tommy prank calls in my ear while I'm, working out, or even if I'm at work, I'll do that. So I love comedy. So that's my way to release. And I don't know if it can help any of you all, but because life is so many things going on in life, and because I do this show and there's more serious moments than, I guess, laughing ones, that's my release. That's how I decompress. And it's a lot of laughing. So if you ever are looking for just a laugh, you're having a tough time, I just go on YouTube, find some comedy, put it on, and just laugh my day away. So that's kind of what I do. So I do love comedy. I do love comedy. Yes, Michelle White says Preacher is an America's Got Talent star. Yes, he was on that show. All right, so let's jump into today's conversation. Really interesting one, folks. Really interesting one. And by show of hands, does anyone have children who have either been in private schools in Bermuda or boarding schools? Does anyone in the audience have or had children in private schools in Bermuda or boarding schools away? Does anyone have / had private children in private institutions in Bermuda or boarding schools overseas? Anyone? 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 Okay, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. That's the question. Does anyone have had whatever? You get what I'm saying. All right. So we've got um, Kathy Rogers says yes, private in Bermuda. Michelle White says private from primary to high school. Charmaine Richardson says uh, hands up, yes. And Suzanne Ingham says yes, private, Dr. Mario Wade Smith School. And Sean Smith says both of mine were in private here and overseas. Where's here too? Patrice Moreno says both private in Bermuda and boarding school. And Renee Simmons says yes, private elementary and high school. And so let's go to Instagram. We've got Mia Chambray says hands up, yes, private or boarding. Private in Bermuda says Ronaldo Swan. So let's have a conversation because I want you to understand why this question is important. Kathy Rogers says I should actually say both private and public. So before we get into it, whatever platform you're on, give a like, a love, a follow, and share this link because we're going to have a conversation. And although the question is around the schools, I think there's something deeper that I think we're all going to figure out this morning. I think there's something much deeper we're going to figure out this morning. All right. So the question of the morning, what are your thoughts on the private schools targeting students leaving for boarding schools? All right. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to go over to our friends at Work Academy. They had posted on February 2nd a post, basically the advantage of staying home. The Bermuda Private Schools Heads Association collaborated on this advertorial to provide balance to the boarding school messaging delivered over recent months. So it says Bermuda versus boarding schools, the advantages of staying home. All right. So here are some things they list. And audience, this is a community conversation this morning. This is really, really a community conversation because I know people have their opinions on either side. You know, I've seen people complain about Soltis. They've never had to advertise. Why are they advertising so hard? Well, I don't know if it's true that they never had to advertise, but people are saying, oh, they're annoying me with their ads. And, you know, you see Work Academy putting statements like this out and the like. I mean, I remember Bermuda Institute back in my day. I mean, they had 2 full class sizes. Someone told me last year or the year before, there were less than 10 students graduating from Bermuda Institute. So we know. I'm going to just go off and say before we get into this, this is another thing of less children being born and more people leaving the island. But let's read this. So this statement that Work Academy posted says, best in class schools of international standing are here at home in Bermuda. At the Private Schools Heads Association, we are all too aware of boarding school marketing campaign that has increased post-COVID. Advertising fairs, promotional materials, social media, and newspaper articles do not accurately compare the well-established and outstanding educational offerings on island. Internationally recognized and historically successful schools are right here, preventing the need to uproot your child. Bermuda's private schools offer a variety of Buy Bermuda benefits, which we encourage parents to seriously consider. Here are some examples. Curriculum variety. There are multiple, you know what, I'm going to share that. It probably won't come up, but basically curriculum variety, right? Advanced placement, A levels, the like. First choice college, university acceptance rates, all rates of students being accepted into first choice colleges or universities are on par with other schools abroad. Superb preparation, alumni often recount how well prepared they are relative to their peers. Representative diversity, our well-rounded school populations demonstrate Bermuda's diversity, including students who learn differently. Competitive tuition, our tuition price points are internationally competitive. Internationally accredited standards, you've got the Canadian Association of Independent Schools, the Council of International Schools, and the New England Association of Colleges and Schools. More time at home, the benefit of having your child at home without the pressure of having to send them off island. And overall risk reduction, remaining at home circumvents the disruption children experience through the process. So there's more here. There's more here. But the question for the morning audience, this is, I hope you're with me so far. I hope you're with me. What are your thoughts on the private schools targeting students leaving for boarding schools? Like, what about this concerns any of you? Even if you have never been to a private school or boarding school, even if you have no relatives, close relatives, children, family, friends in these institutions. What should concern you most? Like, what are your thoughts on this? Because I actually feel so many different things, emotions with this. Obviously, as stated before I read that, there's less people, there's less children being born, and there are people leaving the island, right? We know that plays a role. That's a factor. Now, on one side, I'm thinking, why is it that these schools can't just do what the boarding schools are doing? Find out where they're advertising and you advertise there. I'm pretty sure they're not just targeting Bermudian students, right? So why can't they do that? And there's other things. Has a study been done? And I don't know, this is why it's a question, right? Has a study been done to find out why people are sending their children to boarding schools? Has that question been asked? Audience, you're quiet on this one. See, I haven't brought up your friends in government. If the private schools need to advertise, if the private schools need to put out a statement like this is another indicator of the state of Bermuda, you know. This is another indicator of the state of Bermuda. This is not a good look. Because it's like the thing with Bermuda College. Said during the pandemic, I thought it would have been a perfect time for the Bermuda College to focus on advertising and marketing really hard at Bermudian students, keeping them home for those 2 years and the like. I also thought many years ago, Bermuda College should have invested a lot of money into bringing students to Bermuda to study for 2 years, develop some partnerships with various universities, right? Again, not my forte, just ideas just from the outside looking in. It seems the private schools are facing a similar problem to what Bermuda College has. Let's go on. Students may have misconceptions about attending boarding schools. I need to get off island to further my experience and to be ready for university. Well, I felt I couldn't go Bermuda College. I needed to get off island into a different environment to be able to succeed successfully academically. That actually rang true for me. Says, simply put, there's no evidence that this has an impact. What we know is that every next step is a child's academic pathway, whether on island or off island, comes with growth that readies them for university. Moreover, Bermuda students have access to apprenticeships and internships unavailable elsewhere. My friends are going, and I don't want to be left behind. That's another thing that students may have misconceptions about. They say, well, most of those who opt for boarding schools do not end up at the same schools as their friends. Another thing they may say, I need to go to a top school. Well, it says it really depends on what top means to you. Schooling is about the most appropriate fit rather than the concept of top. Again, we believe in the academic institutions on island all offer appropriate top options for you. And then says this, if I don't go to the football academy school now, I'll lose out. Students at schools on island are able to achieve representative teams in Bermuda, access talent scouts, and overseas training opportunities during holiday periods. When looking into football academies, be sure that they can provide what you seek athletically, academically, socially, and emotionally. While there might be specific reason why an overseas option may work for your child, with the multitude of excellent schools in Bermuda, we believe this is the exception rather than the rule. We strongly advocate that you do your research about the boarding school experience and consider the benefits of local education. And this was signed by the association, the Bermuda Private School Heads Association, that includes the Bermuda Center for Creative Learning, Bermuda High School, Bermuda Institute, Mount St. Agnes, Salters Grammar School, Summersfield Academy, and Warwick Academy. All right. So again, this is an interesting thing, folks. This speaks volumes. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the private schools targeting students leaving for boarding schools? All right, let's go to the audience and see what you all have to say. Suzanne Ingham says Bermuda is in a serious state. It's in a serious state, she says. Michelle White says school systems are not for everyone. We almost got caught in that trap, but making career contacts in Bermuda while in school was our motivator to keep him here. Speaking of her son, I believe. Oh, Michelle, playing devil's advocate. What if your son did not want to return to Bermuda? What if he wanted to make contacts outside of Bermuda or grow beyond Bermuda? I know a lot of students tend to want to do those things now. I get your point. It's important to make contacts, especially in a small place like Bermuda, if you're looking to come back. But that's valid. Networking in the community at a very young age is important. Sean Smith said one of the concerns is the economic impact. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars leaving the island plus jobs. Correct. Correct, Sean. That's what I meant when I said this isn't, it's a reflection of the state of Bermuda. Folks, boarding schools aren't cheap. The money that we're like Bermudians are putting into boarding schools is money going out of their economy. That money going out of the economy, the more students that leave, the less need there is for faculty and staff, right? This is deeper than, I know the old age arguments have been private versus public. I think we're beyond that at this point. I think we need to focus on keeping people in Bermuda and getting people to return to Bermuda. That's what we need to happen. Michelle White says parents need to not get caught up in the trend. Parents who used to send their children abroad used to be the executive parents who would send their child to a boarding school to take care of their child. She goes on to say football is also a draw to leave. Indeed. I mean, I know the UK versus the United States is very different. In the UK, you're going to academies and probably doing schooling. In the US, you're going to, specifically focused. I remember at one time, I don't know if there still are, there were a lot of young boys that were going up to a school in Connecticut. I'd like to see, I know in that letter that the Bermuda Private School Heads Association, they were, stating, focus on the athletics, academics, social and emotional and the like. But has there been a study to figure out the students who have left at that time, what they're doing now, how they're making out? Like, have we done anything like that? Again, a couple of questions. Private School Association, Heads Association. Have you interviewed or do you have actual information, not data, but actual information, like, people speaking to you as to why their child's going off to a boarding school? Because it's not just sports, we know that. But have there been interviews? Have you spoken to them? And then, has there been a study by the Department of Statistics or anyone as to those who left for boarding schools? Number one, have they returned to Bermuda? Number two, if they have returned to Bermuda, how are they contributing to Bermuda versus how those who remained in Bermuda are contributing? See, there's so much more to this. What are your thoughts, audience? There's a situation in Bermuda. There's something going on. Private versus public. Charles H. Jeffers II, he says, the cost of private schools is about the same as boarding schools, but many people don't believe you get the same experience outside of the classroom with sports and socially. Interesting. Michelle White says, I agree with keeping your child here, but also children I know were having challenges with their education here and now thrive abroad as successful students. Sometimes the environment is important. I said earlier, one of the things that I needed to do is I needed to get outside of Bermuda to focus academically. It literally happened. No, I look back and it's probably, could I have done that in Bermuda? Maybe, but I just was not interested. A change of environment did help me. So, mind you, I was an adult pretty much at that time, 20 years old. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, one of two. Good morning. As someone who attended boarding school, it was extremely beneficial for me being exposed to a new culture, and the like. All right, so it benefited him. Let's go to Instagram. We've got a few comments on Instagram. We've got Ronaldo Swan says, some of our kids are going away for track and swimming also, as the competition overseas is a higher quality. Indeed. Said, from an athletic point of view, if we want to improve, we need to go overseas. Well, I think that goes back to what Coach Nikita Robinson, coach of the women's national football team, said, right? You want to compete against the best. Get that women's national squad competing against the best. Well, you have to put yourself in a situation where you're playing against the best. So there's so many reasons. We're going to continue this conversation. I think I just want us to go deeper, because again, the old argument is public versus private, public versus private. But this is Bermuda against the rest. Now, to Ronaldo Swan's comment about young children competing athletically, regardless of sport, at the highest level, can't the Bermuda private schools focus on competing in the same regions and in the same ways? Can't they make some, progress in putting their students in those spaces? Mark Arthur C. Phillips, second part of 2, private school simply can't offer the same benefits as an overseas boarding school. All right. This is an interesting conversation, folks. This is a very interesting conversation. We have a lot more to go. We're going to bring Maya in for the Daily Hour news break and then return, but give it some thought. Give it some thought. And while you're in the process, make sure you give us a like, a love, a follow. Make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Another important community conversation this morning, but we've got some issues, man. We've got some issues. As someone said, this is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars going outside of our economy. The impact of that. Let me break this down before we bring Maya in. The impact of students going outside. That means that parents are buying less groceries because they have less mouths to feed, right? That means the activities that they may have done, dance, gymnastics, football, swimming, less children go in there. So jobs and opportunities, extracurricular activities going down. The more that stop going to private schools, going overseas, guess what? Less teachers are needed. Less administrative staff are needed. This is an economic nightmare for Bermuda. And it's something that most people would not even see the correlation with. Let's bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour news break. Keep thinking on it. Let's see if we can get to a space of understanding as to how we can fix this for Bermuda. I wonder what the government thinks of this.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, MP. Where'd you go? Like Salters War Academy, MSA? Where'd you go? Somersville?
I know you're lying.
CBA, baby, CBA.
All the way.
Yeah, Maya traveled back from the Super Bowl last night, folks.
Ha ha.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. She is traveling though. She is traveling. She did something. Maya, can I tell them what you predicted? What you told us? Maya knows some people. She don't share her contact, but she knows some people. So Maya basically told us TDH crew, she's like, "Hey guys, got some insight." Said, "This is how Usher's show is gonna go," and she called it. She said what the first song was gonna be, the last song. I was just like, "Damn, who she know in the industry and she ain't sharing contacts?" Well, you called it. You didn't get to see it?
No, I did not get to see it. I was on a plane getting back to Toronto.
Mm-hmm. It was good. You should go watch it. I don't want to ruin it for you.
I can't believe. Yeah, I've been trying to avoid things, so let's not talk about it too much.
Did you see any of the game?
I saw a bit of the game, yeah, while I was waiting.
Okay, my cousin actually won the game for the Chiefs. Yeah, McCall Hartman. Yeah, that's my cousin. No, Maya, go Google. My name was changed in 2005. My mother changed my name.
Okay, Joelle.
Yeah, so anyway, nobody even said congratulations this morning. No one in the audience said congrats on your cuz winning, the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. But I appreciate you all. I didn't want to really say too much because we don't speak anymore. He chose the Chiefs and I'm not a Chiefs fan. So Anyway, how you doing? MP, do you want to like add anything to this? Like students like going boarding schools and private? Any you had anything to add to
You
this?
know, while you were talking about the conversation, I was trying to think about the athletes that we have, our professional athletes, where they're at in the career and what their career, um, what their levels and where
Hmm.
they went. Because as I talked to Leilani Nesbitt, she had left when she was 13. Went
Hmm.
off cricket, football. That was her career aspirations at a very young age, to where she's at now, playing professional ball. And I'm just trying to think of other athletes that I know of. Janai Parentchief, I know, who's still out there competing very high level, triple jump, hopefully an Olympic qualifier. But he did go all the way through to Studio Bridge Academy with me, graduated from Studio Bridge Academy, and then went to a different level of college that was specifically for athletics, and then on to university athletics, then on and on and on. I would say that if you would have gone out earlier as well, who may know, but that also came just down to finances and getting recognized and getting known. So a lot there.
I think it's a history because Connor Smith said when he was on, he left at 14 for boarding school. So that's another one that made it professionally. We've got someone else, Katora, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she was overseas from a young age, right? Katora Houghton Parentchief. So I think there's a track. There's a lot of people who've made it. So there may be, again, that's why I said I think we need information, like not just these data stats people like to release numbers. We need stories. We need to understand, like, okay, let's take some of Bermuda's top 20, athletes, or not just athletes, academics, right? And when did they leave Bermuda? Our biggest contributors, not just in Bermuda, but worldwide. At what stage did they leave Bermuda? Or if they stay, I think we need more. We need more.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to actually figure out what the reasons were.
Yeah, indeed. All right, what you got for us today?
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. So starting out on news this morning, you may have heard about it, you may have even smelt it, but a bunker fire was detected, actually, and equipment malfunctioned at Tynes Bay, causing it to close. And the ministry says that the situation, while not uncommon, required immediate attention. Bermuda Fire and Rescue was promptly called to the scene as a precautionary measure. In addition to the fire, they encountered a technical issue with the wire rope of a supporting crane used for the waste incineration actually snapped, leaving the grab unit inoperable within the bunker. Now, the grab unit has been retrieved from the bunker and the crane is back in operation, and it is expected that the collection of the commercial waste will resume by today, Monday morning.
I mean, I have nothing to say outside of that damn incinerator. I mean, yeah, we spoke about it last week. We just said that it just seems like we don't forecast. We know that these things last this amount of time, so we should be focused on getting a new one in place. But anyway, no, not going there.
All right. Another news. So catcalling, also known as street harassment, is actually getting some political attention and even possibly some law amendments ever since the Family Center Bermuda had 3 young Bermudians, Larry Russell, Carla Pearman, and Navi Trott, do a presentation on the concerning stats on the island having to do with catcalling. You may recall that I actually has posted a story on the show. It's happened on October 11th of 2023. Just a refresher, here's something that the students had done.
A culture of catcalling. Standout information and statistics. In the past few years, there have been around 26 to 58 reports of sexual assault each year. According to one report, 1 in 3 Bermudians are sexually assaulted before they turn 18. However, we know not all crimes have been reported. After speaking with the police department, we learned that the crime of street harassment is almost never reported, but it happens all the time and has a
Did he say 1 in 3?
Yeah, he said 1 in 3.
That's pretty high.
Really high statistics. Now, and from that, if you may have heard recently in the House, but now it is a concerning issue, and the Minister of National Security has decided to address this certain issue. So here's a quick statement from the Minister, Michael Weeks, in relation to this exact same topic that the students had talked about and how it's correlated to what he's planning to do now.
The Ministry of National Security will partner with the Family Center's Youth Leadership Academy and the authors of this presentation to advance initiatives to address street harassment in Bermuda. The ministry will commence a legislative review to determine if existing laws can be amended to better address this vexatious issue. The ministry's legislative review will include examining legislation in other jurisdictions. In the past 10 years, countries including France, Belgium, and Argentina have introduced legislation aimed at deterring street harassment. The government and the Ministry of National Security agree with this sentiment. If our legislative review identifies areas for strengthening the provisions for offenses against street harassment, we shall robustly pursue the necessary amendments.
So what's considered street harassment? Because if I'm thinking, cartoons used to promote this. Like, you remember Pepe Le Pew and all that, right? On the cartoons. Anybody remember Pepe Le Pew? He was very aggressive to, the cartoon lady he was trying to get. It was like all that stuff. Like, would that be considered street harassment?
I cannot recall what show that is, though, Jamal. I'll be honest with you, maybe it's outdated for me. But
your time. Pepe Le Pew, everyone got to remember. He was like the skunk, I guess, French skunk. But yeah, anyone.
If it's whistling down, then yeah, that is a form of catcalling. But I am actually going to do a story on my platform today on Media Mile on Instagram. If anyone wants to follow, I'm going to ask those questions. People can answer anonymously as to what catcalling is to them. Have they ever been? Do they believe it's right, wrong, things like that. I will say that Kendall from Bermuda Broadcasting Company, she did go do Streeters, and there was a video as well on their channel. I will be posting it on my story too, of her asking people on the island. And the last one, the person that she asked, very interesting. So I would definitely recommend watching it.
Yeah, and Farah Pelosi, I just want to touch on that. She says, yes, Pepe was a harasser, and that cat was definitely not here for it. He never got consent, and cat push and past her. Know that. And again, I only think of that because this was a cartoon. This was a cartoon that literally promoted what actually was the norm of the day. So it's interesting how things that were so normal were now, and Maya and I have a lot of private conversations about that word normal, that normal. This is another reason why she's so right about normal. Like, normal is not right, folks. Anyway, go ahead, man. I won't get off topic on them.
In other news, we actually talked about it last week on the show, but in the House of Assembly, the leader of the opposition, Jarian Richardson, actually questioned the Honorable Premier Burke in regards to what we were talking about as, family and friends package. So here's their little discussion that they had in the House of Assembly that you were going to listen to now. And it's, again, Jarian Richardson with Premier Honorable David Burke in regards to, some family members or spouses being given different contracts within the ministry.
Has either the Honorable Premier himself or any other cabinet minister authorized their spouse or spouse's company to get paid for services to the ministry that he or they lead?
The first, what I will answer is, I think it is made clear in the public domain that these are not matters which are dealt with in this particular case by ministers. So the answer to the question is clearly a no, because these are not things which are dealt with by ministers. As the answer was stated on the public record, in response to queries that were received, the fact is that this particular contract was handled by the chambers and not the minister.
Has either the Honorable Premier himself or any other cabinet minister become aware of their ministry paying their family and family members for services rendered to their cabinet ministries?
We'll answer the same question the way that I answered before, that ministers do not approve consulting contracts. They are supported, but they have to go through a proper process, which is spelled out in law, so I'm not entirely certain what the honorable member is getting at.
That's a point of clarification, Mr. Speaker. It is, I asked him about awareness, not authorization. Is he aware of any such contracts?
Not to my knowledge, no. I'm not entirely certain what the honorable member is getting at.
David Burke, the Premier of Bermuda, concerns me simply because if you listen to that exchange and you ever listen to him engage anyone, he really does what a Royal Gazette editorial focused on some years ago. This brother really thinks he's always the smartest person in the room, and I'm glad that Jarian Richardson added that point of clarification, right, brother? David Burke, let me just say, either you're not as smart as you think you are, or the people ain't as dumb as you think they are. or it's possible both can be true? Stop your stuff, man. Just answer the question. Because I guarantee you, when you win somebody's vote, you ain't gonna talk to them like that because you need that job. Maybe not as much now as you did 5, 6, 7 years ago. Anyway, go ahead, man.
Well, we're going to close out this news by some celebratory events happening again with some sports that we can always look forward to. But Caitlin Bob shattered her school's 500-meter record at the Darius Dixon Memorial Invitational at the Liberty University Indoor Track Complex. Now, she competes for the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and the report said, quote, Junior Caitlin Bob produced the meet's biggest highlight as she broke the school record in the 500 meters. Bob's mark of 1:12:23 was the best by a collegiate runner in the state before, that was held by Pauline Fogel at the time of 1:12:78 in 2015. So she broke the 2015 record for her university.
I'd be still out there jogging, but congratulations to her. Do your thing. Representing. I'm looking forward to seeing her in the Olympics.
Yeah, just celebrated her last week in sport too, as she was at the top performer there. And now she's again coming through. So hopefully we get to see her in the Olympics. It'd be amazing to see Caitlin Bob out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And closing out with your weather today, it's looking like a little bit of clouds that cover the sun a bit, but it should be peeking through just sometimes around the day. And we got a high of 70 degrees, so it's not looking too bad.
All righty. Thank you so much for that, Maya. Folks, don't forget we've got a giveaway coming up. Well, the opportunity to be eligible for this week's giveaway if you get today's answer correctly in the daily play. But let's go to days of the year. Days of the year, Maya. So we have quite a few. Darwin Day, Red Hand Day, in the US, National Plum Day, Lost Penny Day, Clean Out Your Computer Day, and National Football Hangover Day. Which one you want, Maya?
Let's go with Darwin.
Darwin Day. All right. So Darwin Day is let's see. Darwin's theories have been absolutely fundamental to the understanding of life and the species of the world as we know it today. Charles Robert Darwin was born in 1809 in Shrewsbury, England, and received his education at the University of Edinburgh. He grew up to become a naturalist, geologist, who would eventually impact the thinking of people all over the world. So he, I'm trying to figure out what the important part of this is. So how to celebrate Darwin Day? Head over to a museum, and learning is fun, especially when it's hands-on. So go to a museum, host a discussion group on The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, Descent of Man by Charles Darwin, Why Evolution is True by Jerry A. Kanye, and Evolution, Creation Struggle by Michael Roos. Create Darwin-inspired art. I don't know what that means. And watch a film about Darwin. You have Creation, Galapagos, Inherit the Wind, and The Genius of Charles Darwin. How's that for Darwin Day?
That was a lot, but I do remember reading The Descent of Man, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in university. That was one of my books from first year.
Darwin Day, folks. Darwin Day. Well, Maya, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to continue this conversation after this quick break because we want to see how people feel, man. You know, this school thing, it's deeper than private.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to you soon. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's. I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Place else.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. And folks, If you haven't already, please give us a like, a love. Make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, whatever platform you are on. Make sure that you are showing us the love. Let's get back to the question of the morning. What are your thoughts on the private schools targeting students leaving for boarding schools? Work Academy had shared on their Twitter back on February 2nd, Bermuda versus boarding schools, the advantages of staying home. So they listed some things why Bermuda private schools offer a variety of Buy Bermuda benefits, which they encourage parents to seriously consider. They spoke on curriculum, acceptance rates into colleges, first choice, superb preparation, representative diversity, competitive tuition, internationally accredited standards, more time at home, and overall risk deduction. So that's what we're discussing this morning. And we had some, again, I'll go back to the comments, but again, question was, what are your thoughts on the private schools targeting students leaving for boarding schools? Let's go to, we had Suzanne Ingham, and she's basically on the back of what I said. She said, it's a nightmare when our money keeps going overseas. We need to help our country and fast. I mean, but Suzanne, I mean, I agree with you. Like I said, you know, a student going overseas to boarding school means one less mouth to feed, right? So that means groceries. That means one less student going to extracurricular activities, which is some coaches or instructors or teachers' only job, right? So it has a big impact on our economy, not just from a school perspective, but also that money that's not being spent in those spaces is now being sent overseas outside of the economy. So it's not, you know, circulating in the economy. Renee Simmons says, what helped here was the dual enrollment program, whereby he did 2 years. I believe she's talking about her relative. And most of his credits were transferred, so he was able to complete his college within a year, and now he wants to return. So I believe she's talking about one of her relatives. Farah Palacio says, so many important pieces of our infrastructure just falling apart. And, you know, this is one. This is one. Sean Smith says, the flip side of the situation is the lack of foreign investment, which produces jobs for people to pay private school tuition. Sorry, excuse me. Charles H. Jefferson II says, all public and private schools should be concerned about our young people leaving Bermuda. There needs to be a concerted effort to keep young people here and or attract them back. Brain drain is real. Indeed, indeed. Absolutely, Charles. But specifically, Charles, I think, and for this conversation, we're focusing on private schools for one reason and one reason only. It's like the example of, was it Lamborghini or Bentley, where they said they don't have to advertise? Private schools, I mean, everyone wanted to be there. That's the comparison. And this is no disrespect. I'm a public school guy, having only gone to public schools, right? You can't compare the two. You can't. I get your point, but there's no comparison in that respect, because there was always this thing. Now, private schools have to deal with something that they probably never thought they'd have to. Let's get back to it. We've got Michelle White going back to the boarding school issue. There should be a study to find out why. Well, that's what I said earlier. Why parents are sending children abroad. I said earlier, instead of data, we need to actually have conversations with the parents as to why are they sending their children. But I also said part of that study needs to be, what are the students now doing 10, 15 years later that left for boarding schools, right? Versus the ones who didn't. I think that would help. She says there's an organization here whose focus is to help parents send children abroad. Interesting. Farah Palacio says, even if the school, private, public, is the best on island, the island is not livable. I don't think it's always just about the school. And that's the point of this conversation. This is deeper than this private school. This is deeper than the institution. This is about the state of Bermuda. And we have to be honest about that. This is about the state of Bermuda. Suzanne Ingham says, I am agreeing with your statements, Jamel, 100. Farah Palacio says, I went both private and public. I do think the public system needs a makeover. Michelle White says, our education system is so slow to respond to the educational needs of our children. Michael Daniels says, is there value in parents bringing up their children? You want to answer that for us, Michael Daniels? Or I don't know if the axe was an error, but this is an interesting conversation. I think I don't want people to look at this and just think about private schools or public schools or education or boarding schools, period. There's a larger conversation here. And only the arrogance, which you heard during Maya's news break, during that exchange between the PLP leader and the opposition leader, only through that arrogance by the leader of the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party would you not take something like this as a reflection of your governance. I hate to say it. Well, you know what? I'm going to put it out to the audience. Yes or no? Do you think that this situation with the private schools in Bermuda, do you think this is a reflection of the governing of Bermuda? Yes or no? Do you think that this situation with the private schools in Bermuda, losing students to boarding schools, is a reflection of the government of the day? Yes or no? Just a simple yes or no. Simple yes or no. Do you believe that the situation facing the private schools who are losing students to boarding schools is a reflection of the government and governing of Bermuda today? Yes or no? Do you believe that? And I'm fine, whatever you say. Yes or no? Do you think it's a reflection of that? We've got to be honest. And it's okay to say no if you don't. Because at the end of the day, governments are not going to do what's always in our best interest. So we have to respond in ways that we can benefit. So is it always their fault? No. How we respond to certain things may be how the situation will work out in our best interest. All right. Do you think that this is the fault? Is there a correlation between the private schools, right? Is there a correlation between the private schools losing students to boarding schools and the state of governance in Bermuda? Farah Palacio says, hell yes. LOL. Not yes, hell yes. Michelle White says yes. Suzanne Ingham says yes. Dawn Santucci Smith says yes. Renee Simmons says, of course. Sean Smith says no. Griselda Severin says, how can one answer that question without, as we've already said, not knowing why people are leaving private schools? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Farah Palacio says, the public schools used to be on par with some private here. Look at the state of public. People sent their kids private and now mostly overseas. Everyone is being run off thanks to this government. Folks, I want to hit on what Griselda Severin said. While I agree the state of Bermuda is bad, and I think there's a deeper conversation to have, we have to stop looking at things as just numbers. I will challenge data every day of the week. I've worked in an industry and in jobs who use numbers like politics to tell stories to make people believe their relevance, right? What we don't do is we don't delve deeper beyond the data. And the reason we don't do that is because sometimes we don't want to hear what we don't want to hear. I believe we need to find out, if we haven't already, why are children leaving or parents opting for boarding schools instead? That should be the number one question. You know, before you can go and sell, and I appreciate what the private schools have done here. They put together a document to explain why it's beneficial for children to stay. But I'm pretty sure not every student is leaving for the same reason. Were they bullied in Bermuda? Were they bullied? Is it something specific about the institution they're attending? that this student can benefit from, that they just can't provide the service for in Bermuda. We have to be honest. And while I would like to say the government plays a role, I think it's deeper than that. Just me being, I'm no fan of this government, any government to be honest. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves. Thank you, Ms. Severin, for that. This is why the world is moving from data-driven decision-making to data-informed. The why matters, not just the numbers. I'm going to screenshot this. I'm going to screenshot this because I don't want to lose this comment. I'm really screenshotting this, folks, because this right here, that right there, you heard me screenshot it. This sums up everything. I love this audience because, not because you agree with me, that's not here or there, but because I'm learning from you as well. And we're stretching our minds. We're making ourselves think beyond what we've been sold as normal. We have to go beyond the data. We have to go beyond the damn numbers. We have to. We are too comfortable with data and numbers. And we don't even ask questions anymore. That's how comfortable we are. We need to be data informed. We need to know the why. A friend of mine who has pushed me into entrepreneurship always says, hey, James, what is your why? Let's go back to the comments. Charles H. F. II says, there are definitely more private schools in Bermuda than in my day. With less people here, everyone is fighting for the same dollars. Any industry here relying on local dollars are going to struggle. Suzanne Ingham says, how accurate are these numbers? Anyone can alter numbers. Look, I said this for many years. There's two political parties, right? Both political parties can use the exact same numbers to tell completely different stories. It happens. Zelda Severin says, I find it intriguing that schools are in direct competition with each other, come out together for the collective good. What is the lesson for us all? There's a lot of lessons. One of them is, hey, stay humble. Because these schools, again, as someone said on Twitter the other day, many of these schools never, ever thought they would be in a space like this. The island is very supportive of children on the spectrum or disabled at all, and children with special gifts or talents. The island isn't very supportive of children on the spectrum or disabled at all, and children with special gifts or talents have nowhere to go to really go here. So that's interesting. Michelle White says private schools were also impacted by 5,000 guest workers that left Bermuda, which really opened the door for Bermudian students. Now Bermudians are more open to other options for our children. Jacqueline Eve, why is extremely important? Yes, the why. The why. Sean Smith says the government had no bearing on our decision to send our children overseas 14 years ago for school. I beg to differ. I think we respond to our environment, Sean. I'm not talking about your situation in particular, Sean. I'm just saying I beg to differ in general. I think sometimes we all respond to our environments, and sometimes that is because of the government. Not speaking specifically to you. Let me just be clear. Renee Simmons says, I believe there are more of a variety of opportunities, and if your child is progressive, they are likely to want more. And folks, this next comment, I haven't read it yet, but I see the name, makes me smile, because I would have loved to have had this conversation with one of the heads of one of the private institutions. But Carol Swankson, who's the head over at Bermuda High School, says, we do know the reasons why folks choose boarding schools. If we take a positive approach to meeting the needs of young people and their families, we would our economy and the lives of all. I don't make out the second part, but I think what she's saying, we would improve our economy and the lives of all. I think that's what she's saying. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but so what are the reasons? What can you make those public? Can we get a public understanding as to why what those reasons are, Carol Swankson? Because what was put out are those responses the reasons? Because they, again, folks, I'm just going to go through the what was put out again. Some of the reasons that they were, encouraging people to seriously consider keeping the children in Bermuda's private schools was curriculum variety, being being accepted to your first choice college, superb preparation, representative diversity, competitive tuition, internationally accredited standards, more time at home, and overall risk reduction. So maybe that's the response to those situations. But folks, we have to run and wrap this up. I'm going to take a final break, come back. Any more comments? Someone's going to win today to become eligible for this week's prize. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us. We'll be back after this.
Hi there. Welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside. Let's see. Let's kick it off in the footwear department. When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic, and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talks, and DeWalt. The list goes on. Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can be stylish and comfortable at the same time? Speaking of stylish, we also have top-quality running, walking, and workout apparel by Skechers in a variety of sizes for men and women. Cool, breathable, and dry. With our wide selection of Skechers footwear, you'll look great before, during, and after your workout. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
You'll be surprised at everything we have to offer at our huge new retail and wholesale location on Bakery Lane.
All right. Welcome back. Thanks again to the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis. Folks, again, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure that you share these conversations with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Let me just say, before we do the daily hour news break, I want to say this, that all of my siblings went to Work Academy, BI, Summersfield. So I went public my entire life. And then my niece, private school, and many of my friends' children, same private school, Summersfield. So for me, I have an understanding that I just want what's best for my loved ones. And if I feel that the private is the way to go, I'm supportive of that. So for me, it's not a battle of private versus public. As I said earlier on the show, not sure when people tune in, but this is deeper. And I'll close it out after the daily hour news break. And what Carol Swainson said, again, I said that at the beginning of the show. This is a huge economic problem for Bermuda beyond education. But it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. Now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Folks, it's a Who Said It. The first person to guess correctly on my screen will get the correct, will be eligible for this week's prize. All right. So here's today's quote that you need to guess the answer for. Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. A novelist, a poet, essayist, playwright, and civil rights activist. Who said it? Wow. The first one that came up was Farah, and then Rosalind. Everyone got it. Wow. Audience, you know what I'm going to do? We have a democracy. Farah Palacio had a question mark at the end. Does she get it? Yes or no? Because she wasn't sure. Audience, yes or no? Do we give it to Farah? Yes or no? You all, this is a brilliant audience, man. You all, man, you showed up. Rosalind Famish, Roselda Severin, Stacey Ann Brown, you all showed up. So should Farah get it? We've got a yes. Okay, we've got a yes. We've got a yes. Yeah, all right, Farah. We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. All right, Farah is eligible for this week's prize. That was good, but James Baldwin, and I love that quote. And today, since we're talking about somewhat education, I love that quote. Quote: "Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them." End quote. James Baldwin, folks. And I just want to say this, just revert back. I wanna say from the start of this conversation, I wanted to talk about this since I saw it a week and a half ago, because I feel like these conversations shouldn't go ignored. They should not be ignored. They shouldn't go unspoken about. They need to be discussed. And there's something bigger here. There's something bigger here than people just choosing to send a child overseas. Understanding why and addressing that why is of most importance. For the sake of Bermuda, we need to figure out a way. And I know some people have said, well, some children who need certain services, they don't have them in Bermuda. The opportunities for sport are not there. We can figure something out. And if we do figure it out, all of us will benefit. That's how it works. But if we keep going the way that we're going, because as Michelle White said, when a lot of the guest workers left, that opened opportunities for many Bermudians to attend. And now people are seeing opportunities beyond Bermuda. We didn't focus on one thing that I mentioned at the top. There's also a lot of Bermudians who are leaving. According to some in government, these people are just leaving. They're not Bermudians, they're guest workers. But we all know at least 10 to 20 Bermudians who have left and taken their children with them. Bermuda needs people. And this is another example of how people are leaving the island. People who contribute, even though these are students, there's an economic impact. You may think because they don't work, they don't impact our economy. They do. If little Johnny went to gymnastics every weekend, I'm sure there's a cost to that. Well, little Johnny is no longer here, so that's less money into their coffers. Little Johnny likes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch. Well, little Johnny's no longer here, so I don't need to buy the peanut butter and jelly. And that impacts the grocery store. That impacts the wholesaler. That impacts the employees of both. We have to be honest about this. We have to be very honest about this. And we have to think beyond our own feelings, emotional feelings about private institutions. All right, folks, your daily inspiration is going to be that same quote. We're going to quote James Baldwin. Children have never been very good at listening, but they have never failed to imitate. Listening to elders, but they've never failed to imitate them. We'll leave it at that. And I just want to say it's been real. But do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. I am is out. Peace.